All right. Well, I first want to say I occasionally read The Guardian, and I rather enjoyed what?
You and me both.
Yes, and I've rather enjoyed the racist caricature of you they painted, and
yes,
and I've appreciated how you've sort of bucked it by describing sort of your problem is very specifically with this sort of illiberal strain in immigration, not individuals themselves. But I don't know how closely you follow U.S. politics, but right now there's a Senate race in Alabama with a guy named Roy Moore.
I have been following it very closely.
Yes, who's been in the news for, among other things, not being a big fan of the rule of law, and according to recent accusations, for being a pedophile. And Moore is really blatantly religious. He appeals to a lot of themes of sort of almost theocratic Christian and nationalist identity. And as you mentioned, there's some of these strains in Europe. I think Orban, Law and Justice in Poland have played to a lot of the same sort of the blood and soil, the national history, the battles of our forefathers themes. And these seem to have a lot of the same characteristics of a liberalism that you associate with the immigrant wave. They're homophobic, sexist, often racist. They stifle free speech. They undermine democracy. So do you think there's a risk that while the threat from excessive immigration is quite real, you empower, and not you particularly, but the sort of people point this out, empower these parties that are here and now threats of this sort of vile anti-democratic behavior?
It's a very good question. Yes, and it is definitely a worry. I mean, I said before that the scenario which that ends up with is where we basically have a headache and decide to take an overdose as a result. You know, that would be the response. You know, we don't like this fascistic strain of another strain of thought, so we'll become fascistic in response. I mean, that's obviously. I think, by the way, in relation to Orban and others, I think that's overstated. I don't think that Orban, there are many, many criticisms to make of him. I don't think you could say he's a fascist or a racist. But there are certainly some of those strains going on. I mean, he in Hungary has a party far to his right called Jobbik, who are really, you know, goose-stepping fascist thugs. As for the strain you describe here, I mean, I don't abuse your hospitality, but I would just observe that it seems to me that your society, like mine, is pretty good at knowing what to do with those people. We don't always get it right, but we know what they are, and it's highly unlikely that we'd let them get away with it. The big problem about this other thing that I'm describing is that we don't really know it. You know, we have a tiny strain. There was a far-right party in Britain called the BNP. It's totally destroyed now. It gets nothing. There was one time when we had 2 MEP, members of the European Parliament from the BNP. But we knew what to do with them. You know, you get them on a television program and you ask them what their views are on things because you know what answers they're going to give and you know how to counter them. So one of the oddities, though, with different strains of bad ideas is you just don't know what questions to ask. Somebody I mentioned earlier, Majid Nawaz, has become, among other things, a superstar for being able to ask of his co-religionists precisely the questions they don't want to be asked. You know, okay, you're not for stoning now, but in the following situation, when the following laws are gone through and the following hurdles, okay, are you for it? And they, well, yes, and then you've got them. But very, very few people know what questions to ask. But as I say, I'm not sanguine about the bad people here or in Europe. I just think we know what antibodies we need to deal with that particular strain of virus.